Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pair Program. I'm your host, Tim Winkler, alongside my co-host, Mike Gruen. Mike, fun fact for you, Taco Bell recently announced that they're introducing chicken nuggets to their menu. Did you hear about this?
I did not hear about this.
So I think we can all agree that, we've all got a good Taco Bell success story, a 2 a.m. drive-through run at some point in our lives. But I don't know, the idea of the nuggets and Taco Bell doesn't strike me as a home run pairing. But my question for you is just, when was the last time that you treated yourself to some Taco Bell and what did you order?
All right. You ready for a fun fact? I've never eaten at a Taco Bell. So how about that?
Wow.
And
so you're the one.
I'm the one.
The only one.
What's even worse is I did some consulting to a founder, and she she owns 6 Taco Bell franchises. So for a while around my house, Taco Bell was like butt of jokes. And then once I did some consulting to her, I was like, we're not allowed to do that anymore. So no, have not eaten. I do understand it though. And that's probably because this way people with small kids can go there and their kids can get some chicken nuggets or something that's not Taco Bell. And I'm guessing it's just that simple.
It's just a stomach ache. Brian, you strike me as a guy. Brian, do you have a good Taco Bell like last run in for you? Like any good experience?
I don't know what you're implying, but
last run being the operative word.
That, though. Yeah. I don't eat much Taco Bell. I did when I was younger, definitely a kid. One of my buddies, very good friend, he used to be the manager at Taco Bell. So we'd roll up at 2 a.m. and he would just give us a sack of just stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think if I were going to eat Taco Bell, it's probably been a good maybe 5-10 years. I used to like the Mexican pizzas. Like they're just light and crispy and easy and kind of deal. But I kind of stay away from the tacos and just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned order a big old thing of something because you never go to Taco Bell and just order I'm just going to have 2 tacos. It's always I'm going to have 10 Doritos, Locos, tacos, a Baja Blast. The order gets a little lengthy at that point. But all right, good stuff. Well, Mike, we'll have to. Looks like we have some plans early next year.
I guess so.
Let's give our listeners a little bit of a preview on what today's episode is all about. So today we're going to be navigating the world of the vendor-MSP relationship. So MSP, managed service provider. Now these partnerships are foundational in shaping how products and services are deployed and managed. And specifically in today's discussion, we'll be hearing from an early stage cybersecurity startup that's capitalizing on the channel vendor dynamic to strategically get their product in the hands of customers. So in true pair program fashion, we are fortunate to have 2 guests joining us to approach this topic from each side of the equation. So from the MSP side of things, we have Brian Luckey, who's the Chief Information Officer at Integris, a managed service provider. Brian brings a wealth of experience in enhancing IT infrastructure, customer experience, revenue growth for a number of businesses, small and large, and holds a PhD in management information systems and multiple MBAs focused on global enterprise management and negotiation. So Brian, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And then from the startup vendor side, we have Garrett as the CEO and co-founder of Phalanx, a cybersecurity product startup. Ian's background as a U.S. Army cyber officer and his insights into cybersecurity and artificial intelligence has driven Phalanx to create cutting-edge solutions for secure document access. Ian, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
All right, good stuff. And I also like to point out that both of these guests are local to the DMV area. So we've got four locals today. It's kind of a rare occurrence for us.
It seems like it's been a while since we've had 4 locals.
It has. Nice. It's a shame we got to try to get these in person at some point.
Yeah, that'll go well.
Yeah. All right. So before we dive into the heart of the discussion, let's warm up with our favorite segment, Pair Me Up. Here's where we all go around and throw out some fun combinations. Mike, why don't you kick us off?
So so mine is ping pong and unfinished basements. It seems like every place, I don't know, every time I've played ping pong growing up, it's always been in somebody's unfinished basement, including my own. And what made me think of it recently is we have a ping pong table in our unfinished basement, and my son sort of moved things around so that we could start playing again. We had a little bit of a flood down there a few years ago, and a bunch of boxes ended up where the ping pong table should be because that was like the big open space. So he was motivated to pull out the ping pong table, and we've been playing this week. It's been great. That's it. It's so much fun. It's just a great game.
Epic.
Kids and stuff.
Did you grow up with a ping pong table?
Yeah.
It's like one of those legacy items. Like if you grew up with one, like I've got one in my garage as well.
There you go.
And you always know, when you match up with someone if they were kind of raised at the table,
and then you have to go through. Okay, what are your family house rules? What are our house rules?
That's right.
Are you allowed to do this kind of serve? That kind of stuff. Yep.
That's right. Yep. Good stuff. All right. I'm going to go with kind of keeping with the holiday theme. I'm going to go with family, like holiday photos and utter mayhem. Specifically family photos with pets, though. And so, for context, my wife and I, we have a daughter who's a 2-year-old toddler, but we also have a 4-year-old 100-pound Swiss Mountain Dog named Basil. And, so trying to like balance this, hyper dog on a leash while also trying to look, festive and calm for a holiday card is just hilarious and frankly impossible. So for any of those that are watching, like on the YouTube channel, you'll see I've got this jolly shirt on. This is actually the shirt. A spoiler alert: this is the shirt that we use in our holiday cards. So it was far from a jolly experience for most of this photo shoot. But yeah, that's the pairing I'm going with. I'm going to say these family holiday photos with pets and complete chaos.
So do you try and dress all in the same outfit, including the pet?
Not the same outfit. It's not like we're all like wearing like a denim suit, but we, everybody's kind of has like a little holiday, festive.
You guys are okay. Yeah.
But we're putting like the dog will have like a sweater or like a holiday collar on or something. But you'll see. You'll get a card here soon.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Well, let's pass it over to our guest, Brian. How about a brief intro and your pairing?
Sure. So as you mentioned, CIO for Integris, and I basically oversee the internal technology as well as the external technology. So that customer-facing technology we use to provide IT services to our customers. So basically technology internally and externally. The pair me up, man. I don't think mine is exciting as your guys', but I'll go with like travel and foodie. Maybe that's probably the best. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as my wife and I were newly empty nesters. So we moved to Maryland a couple of years ago from Arizona, and our kids are all grown for the most part. They're still kids, but they're grown. And we've been traveling a ton. So we both inside. So we're looking to kind of where we want to live next, because Maryland is not the final resting place, maybe Virginia or something like that. So we'll go for a weekend and look at a bunch of land and then try to find good food in the DMV area, which there's tons. And then, but we'll also travel overseas. So in the last year, we've done Belgium and Amsterdam and Cancun and Costa Rica, Paris. We're going to Jamaica next month. So just like we try to just find good food and just travel together, which is fun. So that's the best I got. Sorry.
I love it.
No, that's great. I find it funny that you moved from Arizona to Maryland. Like, I think you're good. Like, as an empty nester, I feel like more people go the other way.
Yeah.
Right? It's like my grandmother who left Florida like that. She went from Florida to Pennsylvania. Like, that doesn't compute.
Well, yeah, it's 50-50. I mean, 50%. So my youngest daughter plays soccer for the University of Maryland. So that's 50% of the reason why we moved.
Nice.
The other 50% is, my wife wanted to get out of the heat. We've been in Arizona for 20 years. And she said, I mean, you don't have to move, but it'll be cheaper if you did. And I said, yeah, you're right. So she wanted to go where there's 4 seasons. And so we're like, well, Maryland has 4 seasons. We might as well go there for a few years. And so that's what we're doing. But Virginia seems good for us. Like probably like, Culpeper, Orange, maybe somewhere right around there. So that's what
I'm a Maryland guy. I can't cross that border. I'm from New York original.
I'm from Virginia.
Yeah, he's from Virginia. Tim and I, that's where we're oil and water. It's
I like the Maryland, Virginia, the jab at Maryland. Say I'll just cross over to Virginia. My business partner's a Maryland guy through and through, and we always just talk shit about like, oh, your drivers suck, or
they're terrible.
His partner doesn't. Right, his business partner doesn't live far from me. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I'm in the same boat. It's something, part of travel, like a big piece of it is the food experience. Like, going and exploring some restaurants and getting a feel for that culture. So cool, good stuff. Well, thanks again for joining us. And Ian, how about yourself? Quick intro and your pairing.
Yeah, so Ian Garrett, co-founder and CEO of Phalanx, and we are a data security platform that automates the file protections for both local and cloud environments. So, especially with our MSP partnerships, they love that data security option. Pairing wise, let's go with the food theme, and I'm going to say pickles and pizza.
Nice, interesting.
So, I don't know if. I don't remember the first time. Actually, you know what? It was I ordered a pizza in Korea, and instead of it just came with a bunch of pickles, and I was like, let's go. So with that, I was like, you know what? This pairing is awesome. For one, it came with pickles, and it came with just packets of hot sauce. And then so put them on the pizza, and I was like, this is definitely a repeat for me. So. Brought that back, and yeah, I mean, if you haven't tried it, you got to try it. Get some good pickles, get some good pizza, or even some mediocre pizza.
That's one of the more unique pairings I've ever heard from a food. I've never heard of that before.
This is why we have the pairings. This is that's the type of pairing I'm looking for right there. something I can try and then probably never do again.
That sounds good. Was it like a bread and butter pickle or like a sweet pickle?
Whatever kind of pickle you're into.
Okay.
So yeah, whatever kind you usually eat, just do that, and just whatever pizza you go for. You honestly can't go wrong.
All right.
Have you tried different flavors, Ian? Like sweet and spicy and
yeah. I mean, pretty much. Yeah. I'll dill pickles, bread and butters. I love spicy stuff, so spicy pickles is usually my go-to anyway.
Yeah, I'm a big banana pepper fan on pizza, so you're not far off. We're kind of in the same family right there. So
yeah,
I dig it. Cool. All right, let's pivot into the core of today's episode. So, like I mentioned earlier, we're diving into the vendor-MSP relationship and kind of hearing firsthand how startups can creatively navigate a channel vendor approach to getting their product in the hands of more customers and ultimately scaling their business as well. We'll dissect some of the challenges that are faced by both parties to kind of tailor the product or integrate the technology effectively. And then we can wrap with some insights on maybe some future trends that are emerging across the MSP services and product development landscape. So let's start with you, Ian. Can you give us first just like a quick pitch on Phalanx, and then what problems your tech is solving, and expand on this channel vendor dynamic and why relationships with MSPs are so essential for you?
Yeah, so the biggest area that we're helping out from a data security perspective is having talked to enough MSPs, we learned that a lot of the data loss prevention type solutions aren't very, for one, channel friendly, which I'm sure we'll get into what that all entails, but also they're not very scalable. And most importantly, from an MSP perspective, they are a time and labor suck. So with all those things combined, a lot of organizations were having troubles with existing data loss prevention solutions. So we wanted to take a different approach to it. So instead of saying, hey, we're going to restrict, with policies and we're going to try to stop data from moving around, we said, what if we just took the security and applied it directly to the data itself? In this case, documents, files, any kind of unstructured data in that sense. And what if we just had that all across the organization? So that's essentially what we did. We have, and the last piece too was how do we make it so that it's not a time suck on the operators? So we want it to be automated. We wanted to, and the final piece was from the human error perspective. As we all know, from a cyber perspective, humans are the weakest link. So with that, we want the security to be defaulting on security and not defaulting on insecurity, I guess, and having the end user need to do something to be secure, whether that's even like clicking a button. So with that, it automatically individually encrypts the files across the environment, whether that's local or in the cloud, and then essentially allows for the organization to pass data back and forth without having to worry about where is it at, and then again, kind of restricting the access to each of those files to who the data owner should be.
Nice. Yeah, obviously I want to pull on this thread a little bit, but a couple of quick hits on Phalanx. How old is the company, and how big are you all, just from like a headcount perspective?
Yeah, so we founded in 2021. So we're a little in January. So actually, we're almost our birthday's coming up next month. We been around since then. Raised some capital from VCs as well as some angels. Still a pretty small team, honestly. The big focus on automation. We bring that in-house too. So yeah. our entire goal is how do we be as efficient as possible with the resources we got. So we're still a small team. We're spread across the U.S. So the headquarters is in Virginia, in Arlington. But and then the founders are in Virginia. But outside of that, team spread. We got some Texas, some New Mexico. Not anyone in Arizona yet, but we aggregating people in that region. So I used to live in Texas for a while. So we'll be targeting there next.
and fun fact too, your co-founder is your brother.
Yeah. So
originally that was the episode I wanted to create with you. Like, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Because most people are like, wow, that I could never.
Tim, that usually goes well, right?
I mean, honestly, we have pretty complementary skill sets. So like I went down the cyber route. I've been pretty, from an academic perspective, it was down like a computer sciencey, computer engineering all the way. But from experience wise, between the Army and everything else, a really deep dive into, all the cyber related activities. And then for him, it's really just been full on with the software engineering and systems engineering. So like, while I knew how to do some really hard, interesting things with machines, I didn't know how to build a robust, scalable, enterprise-ready system. Sure. The thing about cyber-related programs is they're not really designed to last long. So he's been perfect to build out as our CTO that whole, and pretty much he watches me do stuff like podcasts or anything else, raise money, and he goes, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So he's like, coding's great for me.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like a good compliment. Awesome. Well, thanks for kind of expanding a little bit on how you all are kind of navigating that channel vendor relationship. And so Brian, maybe you can, for one, I don't know how many of our listeners might be completely privy to like how this whole the channel works, right? So maybe you can expand a little bit on that, and then speak a little bit to some of those, maybe the integration challenges that maybe you face with bringing in new vendor products, and how you're kind of like going through that selection process.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know what an MSP is, it is a different beast, and it's its own beast by itself. But basically, MSP provides IT services. So for companies that are looking to supplement IT services, or upgrade their IT staff, or maybe fill a gap, or maybe they're just replacing their entire IT staff, and an MSP can come in and help them provide a lot of those services to their users for the organization. So they don't have to go spend a bunch of money or hire a bunch of people, or go spend a bunch of money on certifications, whatever it is. So we can really bridge that gap for most companies. And so for us, we're an all-in-one. So you have to kind of eat all of our services. We call them Empower. And so it's we have these 10, we call them seatbelts of the responsible IT architecture. And so you kind of consume all those, and making sure that we're protecting you, from backups to EDR to monitoring, patching, all the table stake normal MSP services that most people kind of consume. From a product standpoint, it's a little different. So when you're someone like an internal IT department buying something versus an MSP buying a tool to ultimately deliver a service to a customer, two completely set of criteria, but also similar criteria. You want a good partner, you want a good company, you want a good service, you want to supply the product that meets the service. You want to combine them together. But there's like three major things, at least that we look at when we look at a product, because everyone's trying to sell me something every single day. And because I own internal and external, they get lucky. So hopefully they can get one or the other. But if you're someone that owns the tools for MSPs, you're looking for a product to help really to provide a specific set of services. So one is a single pane of glass. You want the ability to see all of your clients in one place. You don't want to log into different multiple systems or navigate to multiple screens. You really want to be able to see, one client or immediately be able to see all of them just in, a click or two. The second thing is, I kind of mentioned it earlier, is the product. Does the product meet the level of service that you're defining for your clients? So does it integrate with your solutions and services, especially around PSAs? PSA is a tool that MSPs use that typically IT teams don't use. Professional services automation is what that stands for. So there's like ConnectWise and Ninja, the different tools out there, but those are a couple of them. So you want to make sure, does it integrate with that? So you can have that single pane of glass. There's billing, pain points, all those type of things. Ian mentioned earlier, scalable. That's a big deal for MSPs. Specifically us, we have about 80,000 endpoints. So we're one of the mid-tier larger MSPs. A lot of smaller MSPs, they're the 1,000, 5,000, maybe 10,000. That's where most of the MSP channel focuses on those smaller ones, because there's 40,000 of them out there in the US, something like that. So that makes sense for them to focus on. So a lot of the tools we just look at and if you can't service as many endpoints as we have, it's not a good fit for us. Right. So that's an important piece. And then finally, I mentioned a little bit, is a consolidated billing. So can we see each client, what each client is being billed for? So if we deploy 50 agents, can we see that? But also when we get our invoice, we don't want to see every single client and every single agent. We just want one invoice. Is that consolidated billing? So, there's other things, but those are the three major ones. We look at security, we do vendor due diligence, pricing, of course. I don't like to put that at the beginning, but that is a major factor. Got to keep our prices down so we can obviously sell to our clients. The level of service, reputation in the market, that's a big one, especially in the security industry. I know Ian, I'm sure, can talk about that. And then, as I mentioned, scalable. That's a big one for us also in our kind of on our land.
Yeah, that's helpful to catch it from that perspective. Ian, I'm curious from your side, when you're presenting your products, are you doing any customization or tailoring it based on, the MSP that you're catering to? Like, one's larger. I mean, obviously when we're talking about scale, that's going to be something you're going to want to accommodate. But is there any other, I guess, customization that you're bringing along when you're looking at one MSP or another?
Honestly, building in the ability to be flexible is the most important part of that, right? So early on, we had a design partner, and this is years ago, and they said pretty much, if you want to set up the channel, you need multi-tenancy. So they're like, if you don't have that, and Brian mentioned it, you don't want to have to log into, if you have 5 different customers, that's annoying. If you have 10,000 customers, can you imagine having to manage that many logins? It's ridiculous. Not to mention, if you have no way to aggregate what's going on across all your customers, you're losing a lot of intel at that point too.
Yeah.
But that being said, once you have that built in, that could be for a single tenant. So that MSP, if they're managing one customer with whatever 10 licenses, that can be done. But it also could be managing 10,000 customers. 8,000 endpoints. It doesn't change on our end. Once we build the software, and then same with single sign-on, for example. That was another big one. If they're already integrating in, they're already deploying out, say Microsoft, they wanted to be able to talk to each other. And again, we put all these things in place so that the customer is able to take their tech stack, and we're able to seamlessly go into their tech stack without having to do a custom modification.
When we had our disco call, you were the one that kind of brought this topic up because you think, I think it's interesting as a startup founder myself, right? Been building a small business. Sales is obviously, a huge challenge for any company that has no brand reputation, recognition out there in the marketplace. How did you fall into this strategy? Was it like an aha moment, or, what led you down this path to determine this is going to be a much easier, or not, maybe not easier, but a much more efficient approach to scaling, from a sales perspective versus going directly to these, onesie, twosie IT teams?
Yeah, I mean, it goes into where was the pain point, right? So when we're talking to security teams and CISOs, people understood what we were doing, people got it, but they also were like, well, we're buying 3 or 4 different DLPs, we'll toss it on the pile with the rest of them, maybe. So it was more of a nice to have. But when we were talking to MSPs, actually, honestly, they came to us. that was where it started. We started to have an increase of people reach out to us via the website, just saying like, hey, do you have a channel program that we can use to distribute to our customers? And after talking to a couple of MSPs, they said, that's unheard of. Like, an MSP is never going to reach out to you like that. So right. You better pull that thread to figure out what's going on there. So we just went where the pain was.
And having been on, so I've, like Brian, I'm the head of technology. I'm internal and external and security and the rest of it, and always small startup-y type companies. So get the value of the MSP. Have probably had that same conversation with you, Ian, about like, yeah, we have a ton of DLPs. We'd love to do all this, but whatever it is. But like, I don't have the team to like manage all of that stuff and whatever. And so I totally get that value. And I think what's interesting is, and I wonder, like, from your perspective, selling directly to a small company, multi-tenancy, that's one thing, but you're actually talking to a MSP. So it's really multi-tenancy, right? They themselves have multiple customers. So it, like, the way you would architect that and making sure that you still have all of the delineation of data, like all that stuff is still very different, I think, than how you would design just a typical multi-tenant architecture, because there's an actual extra tenant sort of in that mix, right? The MSP. Is that something you guys sort of did from the start, or was that something you had to add once these MSPs started coming and talking to you and you're like, oh, we need to figure out how to solve that problem?
Yeah, it was pretty early days. And again, we had a design partner that was pretty big on helping us with making a couple of these major decisions that, from our perspective, wasn't too bad because we were baking it in as we're building it.
In the early days, right? That's when it's easiest.
It would be bad if we had to go tack it on after the fact, which I think most products do. Is they are selling it and they realize, oh, we want to go to the channel, and then they go, oh no, we have to have all these random quality of life add-ons, and then it becomes an add-on, which makes it more difficult to actually navigate.
Yep. Brian, I'm curious from your side, and maybe it's not at Integris, maybe if you worked at MSPs previously or prior to, so maybe smaller or maybe a smaller scenario might be relevant to this question. But when you're going through that kind of like that product selection, how do you navigate that? Like, how are you weighing your options? And then the follow on to that would be, once you kind of kick off that engagement, what does that feedback loop look like in terms of, connecting with your customers and relaying back to your vendors on like how it's working, or, what you could do to improve or what have you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my last MSP was twice the size. So it's only bigger ones that I've worked at. Sorry, that doesn't work.
Approach from Integris perspective.
Yeah. So I approach it just like I would when I own internal IT. Like we come up with a list. What are we looking at? And then we grade that. What are our objectives? What are our features and tools that we're looking at? And so you have that evaluation, because you can just look at products all day, but unless you, at the end of the day, have some type of point value and you look at all the vendors, you don't want to look at, 30 maybe in a normal IT environment, but in an MSP, you're going to find maybe 5 or 6. Like it's just a smaller group set. You still need to have that visual at the end of the day to understand, what the grade is. What does that look like? Oh, I remember they did have that. That is that. And so looking at it, because a lot of times you're like, I love this. And when you get through it, they were at the bottom of the list based on the scoring criteria. So I'm big on that. It's something I learned really, really early in my career, and I've taken that everywhere. And it doesn't matter whether you're a 5-person MSP or a 5,000-person MSP, that type of process is just, it's gold. It continues. It's the gift that keeps on giving. In terms of feedback loops, I think a lot of it has to do with trust. So when you have a vendor MSP relationship, I believe a trust-led relationship can resolve any issue that someone might encompass. So it's at the forefront of the relationship, and communication is that foundation and the most important part. You don't want to be hiding things, or if the vendor is hiding things and not communicating to each other or issues that have, you're just not going to have that solid foundation and not be able to build that relationship over time. But if you have that, and then you start talking about expectations and you start planning ahead. So where MSPs can provide a vision for the vendor, whether that's 1, 2, 3 years down the line, so that they can align as it goes, because you never know what that vendor is going to develop. I'm sorry, no matter what to tell you, at some point, they're going to be agile, just like we're agile, right? So just because they said they're going to do something in 3 years, 6 months from now, that could completely change, because especially in the security market, because things are moving so fast. We switch out our tools very quickly on the security side if something's heading in a direction that we need to, based on where the security, the pain points, as Ian said, are going. So I think that's important. But aligning that and filling those gaps, I think, and having the communication, all of those, you have that feedback loop. That's how you both are ultimately successful.
Speaking of that feedback loop, I wonder how frequent it happens where either the vendor, you're using the vendor internally on your own stuff, so that it's not just using it for my customers, but also from the vendor's perspective, the vendor using the MSP for their own security, right? As a small business, I couldn't have the security team that I needed. I made do with the budget I had, but I would have loved to have had an MSP at one of the companies. So that type of thing, how often does that happen where there's a vendor MSP where they're each other's customer in a way? I'm curious what your experience with that is.
Yeah. How do I say this? 50% of the time, none of the time. So I guess is a better way to say it. So they are different needs, right? As I mentioned earlier, a vendor that provides MSP services or products is so much different than a vendor that doesn't provide that. And there are very few vendors that do both. So it's not like you can use one or the other. Sometimes it works where we'll get maybe NFR licenses. So we buy it for our customers, and then we'll negotiate NFR licenses internally, and that works. But not all products work for us that also work for our customers. You think about it, it's just IT. No, it's different. We're not an MSP, and so we're providing services to our users, internal users, but they're not MSP users, right? It's just a different mindset and requirement. So yes, sometimes we do that. I would say it's about 50% of the time, but we lean against it. It's not like, let's eat our own dog food. This is one of the times you don't want to go through that. You want to make sure what your users' expectations are and the services you need to provide to them. You focus on that, and then you also focus on your customer side. And that's why I have two completely separate teams managing both sides, because you have access controls. So we don't want to have access to customer data versus them have access to internal data. That's another issue. So it's just, we look at each one every time and see if it fits. If it fits, great, and it makes sense, let's do it. If not, that's okay. We'll figure out whatever makes sense.
That makes
Great
sense.
question.
And Ian, plugging you back into this whole feedback loop process, how is it that you're, what is your approach to navigating that, product feedback, and then how does that, kind of revert back into your product roadmap and such?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges as a product going through MSPs actually is that you're further removed from the end user. So obviously you have the subset of users that is the MSP customer, but then you have the people actually interfacing with the product, which is often not the MSP and their customers. And again, as Brian mentioned, we offer the NFR licenses most of our customers use it internally too. Which is great. And then, those are licenses provided to the MSP for internal use, but, not, as you said, not every solution makes sense for that kind of capability. So, and then going back to the original question, we have a couple different areas where we have the MSPs provide us feature requests. So, and then pretty much they're able to vote. So the ones that get most voted go, not to. We still do our internal rack and stack, but, that way we know what are people interested in, why, and then especially depending on the use cases surrounding it, we'll have a conversation. Hey, I saw that you requested, this dashboard thing move over here, or that, you can, some of these analytics cards can be moved over there. Like what, why? Or like you wanted an API for this, why? And then so we'll start seeing some activity around, let's say like this data is great, super rich, but we'd love to see it in our scene. And then so that's a use case that's definitely, again, going back to scalable. Like there's a lot of people that could use that kind of capability versus someone saying like, oh, I just need that one very specific customer with this one very specific use case. And it's like, we would love to provide custom solution there, but we got to focus on the majority.
Right. Nobody else is going to pay for it. I'm curious, is it open to other people see what the what other customers are sort of requesting?
Yeah. So I forget let's dig up the link. it's another solution that we're using that does the kind of voting system.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that we've got a lot of benefit out of one of the companies I was at was we had like a little we had our like top customers like in a thing, and we had them like, here's 5 balls and you can put 1 ball and then there's 10 baskets and you get to vote on like some of the features. But it was, what was great was a lot of them were like, oh, I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I would like to put 3 of my balls in that basket because that's really important. So having that sort of open feedback is, I think, really good. The counter is I won't name the company, but they have their own online. You can see voting for features, and some of the most upvoted features are also the ones that have been open for 10 years. And the only time they get updated is this ever going to happen?
No, a few of those, unfortunately.
Yeah. We are able to put it on like a projected roadmap with that thing too. So
yeah.
It gets the projection, which, I mean, again, as Brian said, things change. So
exactly right. Anything that's more than 6 months out might as well just be 3 years out. There's no difference. If it's 6 months, 3 years, it's all the same. It's horizon.
Yeah. That's interesting, Mike. We might bring that company on as an episode, but I guess in kind of closing on looking forward to some of the future kind of trends, Brian, I'm curious from your perspective, right? Because obviously we're in the age of AI, everything. How often are you getting tapped to this is an AI tool that I think will really just be a game changer for us? And what are you hearing, and what are you are you cautiously like proceeding, or how are you approaching AI as a tech modernization resource for your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I get maybe 6 to 8 emails or LinkedIn requests a day just on AI alone. I mean, that's not talking about everything else. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm a fan of AI, of what it can do, but I like to call it automation intelligence rather than artificial intelligence, because that's really what we're at, right?
I call it a bunch of ifs.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna steal that, Mike. I like that.
By all means, steal it.
Yeah, I think what vendors and different software vendors are doing today is they're finally realizing, oh, I need to put automation in and call it AI. Mm-hmm. It's because they're 5 years behind of putting automation in their product. If you look at them, I mean, just to be honest, I think if you got them in a room with no cameras, that's probably what they'd say. And then they're calling it AI. And so it's great. I mean, ultimately the end user that they're selling to, their customers, are getting significant benefit and efficiencies out of what they're creating, because they should have had it in their product already, and they've either developed it outside or just figured out how to do it internally. So that's kind of how I see it. But I mean, AI can be it can be and is going to start being a game changer for the MSPs. It's just where, mm-hmm. How often. For us, we're focusing both internally and externally on it. So I actually have a dedicated software engineering team, and on that team, we have automation architects that focus on not just automation, but also implementing AI, which we've released some internally, some Gen AI stuff. And then for our customers, we're doing a lot of things behind the scene. Really, for us, it's coming down to how do we monetize data? So around the data automation, or around the automation intelligence, the AI. Mm-hmm. So really just creating experiences from data that creates value in a way that customers are just not able to provide themselves. So ultimately doing discovering trends and patterns and actionable intelligence and providing a customer's intelligent service. That's kind of where how we're handling it, and then bundle that with integration. So providing more than just the break fix comprehensive set of solutions and things that an MSP would normally provide, but more of a strategy and a platform they can buy into and trust, and just drive those digital transformations in their business as well. So that's kind of what we're focusing on the back end. We're calling ourselves a next gen MSP. I think that's truly, it's not, just not a buzzword we're saying. That's something we're really trying to strive to. And AI or automation and behind the scenes is a lot of that is driving that for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll pass it to you, Ian, in terms of, how you're, just approaching, how AI could, impact your all's business at large, but also, when you think about how it translates into, supporting your customers. Anything specific that comes to mind or that you guys are super, privy to right now?
Yeah, I mean, so going back to the automation talk I mentioned earlier, that's one of our key tenets. We're a lean team, and the only way we can do it is via automation. But that being said, and same with any kind of AI related capabilities, from a productivity standpoint, I always think it actually helps the experience from the customer side too, because ultimately, if you're waiting around for a person or you need something changed and it's something to happen, we're in the age of we want it instant, and the best way to get instant is either outsource, so you have 24/7 help desk, or leverage at least some sort of automation and AI for that. Yeah. And at least what I've seen is a lot of people have enjoyed being able to get instant answers. But yeah, beyond that, like our key mission is related to reducing human error. And a big piece of that is, don't have people do things. Because let people focus on the stuff they want to do, right? And the stuff that's important, the stuff that they bring value to whoever their customers are and whatever that looks like. And, we can focus on automating as many configurations, automating away, as much of that lift, the technical lift away from, technicians, because ultimately they got better things to do. So the more we can make their jobs easier, the more they can provide more value to their customers.
Yeah.
I love that tagline. Just don't let people do things, just keep people out of the equation.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that on your website, Ian. But if you don't have it there, you need to add it.
Yeah. Let's get that up.
We used to have it a lot everywhere. Honestly, I did a lot of cyber conferences, and for one of the talks I would give, I have this big slide that's just people are the problem.
I mean, I usually go with try to make it easier for people to do the right thing, or just make it the right thing by default or whatever. But I do like the don't let people do things.
Soft, Mike.
I know, clearly too soft. But on the AI thing, I still especially in cyber. I still remember my call with the founder of Signal Sciences when we were looking at getting a WAF, and him going we don't use AI. It's descriptive statistics. It's just that easy. I was like, yep, sold. I don't need the AI. This was a few years ago before the AI hype. It was at the very, very beginning of it. But there's so much you can get done with descriptive statistics and other things and automation and whatever. And I was I appreciated just the transparency. I'm we're not. It's not really we use good old fashioned analytics, and we can stop a lot of threats. And do a lot of things that way. And I think AI and cyber is an interesting place, intersection sometimes.
Sounds like another future episode right there.
I mean,
yeah. All right. I think that's a good kind of transition point. Let's go ahead and put a bow on it and transition to our final segment here, which is the 5-second scramble. So just going to spitball a couple of rapid fire Q&A with both of the guests. Mike, why don't you kick things off with Brian, and then I will lead it with Ian.
All right. Sounds good. You ready, Brian?
Sir, serve me a softball.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll start off with a soft one. Explain Integris to me like I'm a precocious 5-year-old.
Wow. Wow. We do, let's see, we provide services, we provide technology like your little laptop that you put keys on, and other technology like your iPod and your iPad that your mommy and daddy gave you, that we help you, run it easier so you can play more games and break the screen more.
Nice.
Bravo.
Bravo. Well played. Aside from AI, what's an emerging technology that you're excited about?
That's a great question. There is, AI's, I gotta be honest, AI is kind of my favorite. I know that goes against what I just said. I know now I'm backtracking. I'm like, dang it, I should have said that. That's it. I probably spend 30% of my time reading about AI stuff. Let's say, like edge computing is good. I mean, all that's coming out. Quantum computing. There we go. That's something that's massive.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Let's go with quantum computing because that's other than AI stuff. Yeah. Quantum computing. I'll go with that. That's good.
What type of technologist thrives at Integris?
What type of technology or technologist? Sorry.
Technologist person.
It varies because if you think of an MSP, we're a company too, right? So we've got folks that are super techie and they want to get really in the technical details, both internally, but also with our customers. And you've got salespeople, you've got engineers, you've got support people, we have a whole dedicated cybersecurity team that provides services to our customers, and you got cloud. So it's a range of technical expertise, as well as focus. But then you also have folks that, all they want to do is play with toys all day. So they want to play with a Microsoft Copilot and they want to play with the AI tools and those type of things. And then you got people that all they want to do is improve stuff, right? So they want to just get better and make the company better. So I think anyone that, for us, we are a people first company. That's kind of our culture. But we're also a customer first company. So regardless of what you like, as long as those two things are in line, you can pretty much be any type of technologist in the company.
Nice. I think you just answered this, but I'll go with it anyway. What's your favorite company value or cultural value at Integris?
Yeah, people first. Yeah, that is my favorite one. There's only 4, but that is my most favorite one out of all of them.
Clearly, I should have started with that as the softball.
That would have been a much better softball. Yes.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Version 1 is better than version none. So
I like it.
I have a pretty good software development background, and one of my mentors has always told me, like, just get it out, like ship it. It's better than nothing. You could spend all day doing something, but if you just get version 1, that's so. I tell everyone that, and they think I just came up with it, but I got that about 15 years ago.
I mean, I've heard it before, but I'm definitely stealing it because it works where I am right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was your favorite cereal as a kid growing up?
Lucky Charms. I mean, my last name's Lucky. You can't go wrong. You have to. It's spelled differently, but I was always like, I'm eating my own cereal. This is from my family. It was Lucky Charms, always.
Nice. All right. I wasn't going to go with this one, but I'm going to do it anyway. What's the largest land animal you think you can take in a fight? No weapons.
No weapons, land animal. Largest one. Maybe a monkey because they're small enough. I can throw them around, something like that.
They're super strong, though.
I'll go with that. I know. Well, not a gorilla or an ape. Yeah. I'm talking about a monkey, like the little ones.
I understand. Yeah. All right.
I'm not a small man, but I think I could take a little monkey.
There you go. What's this will be a good segue. What's a charity or corporate philanthropy that's near and dear to you?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff in my family history and especially my daughters and everything. But anything that has to do with like battered women and those type of things, I'm all over. I don't even have a favorite one. I was like, I'll just cave all day, every day.
Expect some inbounds on that. Who's your favorite Disney character?
Donald Duck.
All right. And last one, what was your dream job as a kid?
So when I was 8, I told my grandpa and I told everyone in my family I wanted to be a salesman. My grandfather, when I was younger, when he was working, because he's retired now and old, he used to be one of like the top salesmen in the regions for Bostage, which is now Bostage. Used to be Lou Rentz way back in the day. So now it's called Stanley, I think, Stanley Bostage. So you've probably heard of them. They're the yellow and the black.
Yeah, I know Stanley. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Lowe's or, whatever. And he was like the guy. He would, for like 10 years straight, every quarter, he was the guy. And so he would teach me little things about sales and people, and don't talk with your hands, and always look people in your eye and shake their hand. And so I want to be a salesperson just like my grandpa. So that's what I wanted to be. And I was that for a few part of the years, and thankfully I'm out of that now. So
that's awesome. I don't think we've had salesman as an answer to that. That's great.
It's a great skill set.
That's the thing. Like my background, and you look and you're like, how did you become a CIO? And I think, being a salesperson and not lying and being truthful, that's a big thing. But also just how to develop a relationship. We talked about that, like vendors, right? Developing that's huge. And so being able to develop and talk and those type of things, I think was actually set me up for success. So.
Awesome,
good stuff. All right, Ian, we'll close with you. You ready?
Let's go.
Mike, I like how you added precocious 5-year-old.
That threw me off. I was like, wait a second.
All right, wait, what? All right, so Ian, pitch Phalanx to me as if I were a slower 5-year-old.
All right, well, businesses have important files, and sometimes people make mistakes where people who are not supposed to see it sees it, and bad things happen. Phalanx helps you to not have to worry about that.
Perfect. How would you describe the culture at Phalanx?
I think so. Speaking about values, one of the ones that we always focus on is just never getting too comfortable, which I know some people are like, "Oh, that's awful," but I mean, it comes down to emerging tech. We're always looking out to what's the latest. But also, as a startup, especially, you can't just sit back and hope. You gotta, if you're not doing it, it's not happening. So, we're fast paced, we're quick, but we always want to make sure, and really for each other, we're taking care of each other by making sure we're showing up as our best. And if we can't, then if we got to take a break and take a knee, like we're all about that too. So it's not all just breakneck speed. It's making sure that you're able to bring, what you should be bringing to the table. And if you need a break, go take a break.
I like that.
Come back at 100%.
Yeah. Never getting too comfortable. It's a good one. What kind of technologist would you say thrives in Phalanx environment? Yeah.
So, I mean, it starts again from the top level, and for my brother and I, we just love to build. That drove us for Phalanx. That drives, every day, really. So, and we're really the kind of person that wants to come join is really someone who wants to build something new for the industry. So it doesn't just, again, minor increment of increase of better, or just kind of doing the day to day, but really bringing an innovation to life. It's super exciting. It pumps me up when I see the other team members get pumped up about it.
Nice. Any specific kind of roles that you're hiring for that you want to plug?
Not at the moment. So we did recently just bring on a couple folks more in the growth realm. But honestly, it's probably going to be more growth and more engineering in the near future, but nothing at the moment. So fortunately.
So from my research, I think this is your first startup. And so I'd love to ask, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced with building an early stage startup?
Yeah. So for any potential founders out in the world that come from a technical background like myself, you're going to have to learn how to be a salesperson. So that was the biggest thing, was just understanding go to market, understanding the reality that you just got to be out there selling all the time. And if that's, for me, that wasn't where I came from, right? I had an engineering background, but that's part of the building process. And ultimately you can take that into every facet of, you're selling the team, selling the vision to investors. I'm selling the product, obviously. And I'm teaching especially from a channel perspective, I'm teaching our partners how to sell down to their customers. So selling all day.
It plays into Brian, when your dream job as a kid. What aside from your phone, what's a tech gadget that you can't live without?
Oh, this is a weird one, but I love like the color LED lights, like the Philips Hue. So like something about it just makes me happy. So in the house, I have them set up everywhere. More automations, but I just love, like, end of the day, it's like a visual reminder. Like regular lights go on, fun color lights come on, or regular lights go off, fun color lights come on, and it's like, all right, time to like just sit back and relax.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I'm drawn to Brian's backdrop. Like that is like a cool, like,
absolutely
backlit globe scene. So
it does like change colors and jumps around and everything. So it's a whole dance party.
Yeah. We'll save that for the sequel here, the next episode.
That's good.
Go to dessert, Ian. What are you going with?
Dessert? Brownies with chocolate chips in them.
Whoa. Favorite business book that you would recommend to fellow entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's corny, but that Peter Thiel 0 to 1, that was a great book. We read it kind of early days, and a lot of it is, talks about just ship it, get it out there. Ultimately, and I guess the biggest thing too is like you got to put it out there because whatever you're thinking is probably not what the customer wants. So get it out there, learn, and then make it an iterative process. It's never gonna be perfect, and if you let it try to be perfect, it's never.
Nice. Favorite charity or corporate philanthropy?
Yeah, so I mean, really, anything veterans related. I've seen a lot of people have a hard time with their transition out of the military. I've seen a lot of people that have been removed for a while that have a hard time dealing with some of the things they've gone through the process, or even just haven't had the abilities to be taken care of properly. So any kind of organizations that help support across multiple facets, right? So that's whether they're homeless or whether they're just need a business transition to learn about what the real world's like. Because when you start at 18, you go do the military thing, and then you're transitioning out into the regular world, and everyone else has been doing regular world for a decade, and you show up with no idea. So even in that case, I'd love to see support.
Cool. Yeah, we do a lot of episodes around that type of stuff too, just because of our proximity to DC. So appreciate the plug. And then worst fashion trend that you've ever followed?
Ever followed?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Early 2000s. Boy bands were popular. I had bleached the tips of my frosted tips.
Yeah, frosted tips. Nice, dude. Yeah, we'll get a picture of that for your headshot for the image of the episode. And then last thing, what was your dream job as a kid?
Yeah, so for me, it was as a business owner.
Nice.
Don't come from a family of entrepreneurs per se, but I always just loved the idea of building something and growing something, and really being able to take charge of the whole process. So yeah, it is much harder than a child me would have imagined, but rewarding every day either way.
Cool. Well, kudos on pursuing your dream. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. You've both been great guests. Appreciate your insights on the vendor MSP relationship. And thanks for spending time with us here on the pod.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.